Hey everyone, today I am making some red wine cupcakes with this Apothic Pinot Noir, so stay tuned for the recipe. Hey everybody, welcome to corkandjava.com, where you're your go-to place for coffee and wine reviews and how-tos. On this channel, we like to expand and enrich your experience with all of your favorite beverages, so make sure you guys hit subscribe and click on that little bell so you're notified when all our future videos come out. So we are going to be making red wine cupcakes, and we're going to make, well, it's not completely from scratch because we are using this devil's food cake mix. But we are going to make icing from scratch and a nice little wine glaze that goes on top from scratch. But I have to wait until I make the cupcakes and they cool, so stick around for that part. But first, what we are going to do is we're making cupcakes, so we're going to use an oven, preheat the oven to 350, and of course, since we're making cupcakes, you're going to need some cupcake liners. So what you'll do is just pop these cupcake liners in here. You can see our very well loved and used cupcake tin. Some people have reusable cupcake liners. I think those are great. If you're a baker, that is something you probably want to invest in. But I don't do a lot of baking, and I don't plan to do a lot of baking. So I just have these little paper liners. All right, done. So now that we have our cupcakes lined, just push that out of the way. For this recipe, instead of using vegetable oil, you don't need that. You're gonna substitute the vegetable oil with the wine. Now we're using Apothic Pinot Noir. Merlot would be great for this too. A Cab Sauv would be great for this. You can really use whatever you have on hand, but just something that's more bold flavored would be good for this. I don't know that I've tried this one, and since I'm pregnant now, I can't really try this right now, but this was just one of the cheaper wines that we had on hand, so I'm just using it since I'm baking with it. So, what you're gonna do is just follow the recipe on the back of the box. You just use 1 cup of water, 3 large eggs, and instead of the vegetable oil, you use 1/3 cup of the wine instead. And then you just mix that together and pour it in the tins. So super easy. Watch and see. In there. Alright, then we'll just mix this in. If you have a hand mixer, feel free to use that. If you want a little bit of a workout, just use some elbow grease here. So with cupcakes, you just fill it up like halfway full because obviously they rise in the oven and you don't want them to be like spilling out the top. So just fill your cupcake liners about halfway full. And this recipe makes 24, which is the standard boxed mix amount. Okay, so I have my batter in my cupcake tin. So what I'm gonna do is stick it in the oven. It's preheated to 350. I don't know what that is in Celsius for people who don't use the metric system, or we use Fahrenheit here in America. Let's use our oven that needs to be cleaned. But you'll put them in the oven for 18 to 21 minutes is what the box says. So I'll set it for 18 and I'll check for doneness and see if it's baked all the way through. Just use a toothpick, make sure it comes out clean. If it does, then you just take them out, let them rest for a few minutes in the pans, and then transfer them to a cooling rack. Since I'm making these at night and I'm gonna do the frosting tomorrow, I'll just keep them in an airtight container so that they're fresh and ready to go when I make the frosting. So stay tuned. Okay, so I've got my cupcakes prepared. I'm gonna move on to the glaze. This is what we're gonna drizzle on top of the frosting, which we'll make next after the glaze so that this has time to cool. So what you're going to need is a 1/4 cup of sugar. Take the wine that you used to bake with the cupcakes and you're gonna use a 1/2 cup of the wine. And we'll stir this together and we'll just let this reduce for like 15 minutes or so until the sugar's all dissolved in there and it's, you know, greatly reduced. Obviously, we're not going to need a 1/2 cup of wine to drizzle all over our cupcakes. Right, so while our wine glaze sauce is on medium heat for 15 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and start on our frosting. This is super easy. All you need is a 1/2 stick of butter. You can use salted, unsalted, whatever you prefer. Just make sure it's room temperature so it's a lot easier to mix. All right, and then you'll take a pack of cream cheese that is also at room temperature. I just eyeball how much vanilla extract to incorporate. I'd say it's like a teaspoon worth. So now I'm going to just use my little hand mixer. All right, so I'm gonna cream the butter and cream cheese and vanilla, and then once this is a smooth consistency, I'm gonna start adding powdered sugar to make it nice and fluffy, but you just do that little by little. So here we go. We need 2 cups of powdered sugar. Don't dump it all in at the start of it. It's much easier to incorporate little by little. So I only added about 1.5 cups, well, maybe it was close to 2 cups since I dumped quite a bit in on the second go, but maybe it's closer to about 1.5 cups.
And maybe we need to just do a little verification test here.
It was getting kind of thick, so I didn't want to keep adding too much more sugar.
It's perfect.
Perfect, great. So let's see, we've got just a few more minutes on, wow, I got powdered sugar everywhere. We've got a few more minutes on the wine glaze. I'm just gonna give it a little stir. And then since my cupcakes are already cooled, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting some frosting on them. I've got fun like piping tips in the bag, pastry bag that I can use. You can always just use like a spatula or butter knife or whatever you have if you're not into it looking fancy, and just, you know, do it old school. I'm gonna do at least a few that look pretty. So let me grab my piping tips. Okay, so this looks like it's just about ready. I'm gonna take this off, let it cool completely down. You don't want to be drizzling hot wine sauce over your frosting or else it'll just melt right off. So make sure it's completely cooled. And I am just about ready to put some frosting in here. I got this set of piping tips, and I think this is called a coupling, which makes it really easy to switch out the different tips in the piping bag. On Amazon for like super cheap, like $10 or less. And I think it even came with like a nice silicone piping bag.
We'll leave a link in the description.
Okay, so I've got my pastry bag loaded up. I've still got some in reserve in the bowl, but it's pretty much like a whole bag. Like I said, it's not going to be fancy, but
one hand maneuver too.
Ta-da!
Just a single layer, or?
Yeah, just a single layer is fine. This frosting is pretty thick, so I don't think you need
Plus we got the glaze.
And you'll have the glaze, correct. So you can do like whatever designs floats your boat.
With a zigzag?
Mm-hmm. This is part of the fun of having the piping tips. You just...
Do they call that switchbacks or zigzags or what?
Yeah. And if you were a professional, obviously they would look so much better than this. But again, we're going for taste and ease. So,
and wine.
And wine, yes. And obviously if you love frosting, go ahead and add it again and again. Get some nice layers going. Okay, so we've got these done, and now we're gonna add the glaze. Okay, so I've got all of my cupcakes iced. I've got my cold wine glaze. You can tell that it's obviously much thicker now that it's had time to set. So all I'm gonna do is just lightly drizzle my wine glaze over top. There's really not any like particular way to do this, just whatever feels right. What is that artist? Pollock?
Dexter?
No, Pollock. That does the like splatters. That's kind of what I'm going for here.
This looks like splatter, all right, like crime scene
Like
USA.
blood splatter, yeah. I got it.
This would be a good Halloween.
Ooh, this would be good for Halloween. Yeah, you could make this as like gross as you wanted to if you're into that kind of stuff for Halloween. Yeah. Or else it's just gonna melt right off. So. Okay. Good.
You get the wine flavor coming through?
You get the wine flavor coming through. That's what I was gonna say. And the frosting is sweet, but it's not like overpowering sweet. Yeah, this is great. And this is something all the alcohol cooks out, so you can even share it with your kids if you have kids. Great for parties, makes a ton, obviously. There's 24 here. So leave a comment if you try this out and let me know what you think of my red wine cupcakes. All right, guys, well, that's how you make my red wine cupcakes. Make sure you guys find us online. We are elsewhere other than the blog and YouTube. Find us on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and on Instagram. There's great content and great community in all those spots, so don't miss out. We're looking forward to seeing you guys online. So until next time, bottoms up.